Welcome back to the vocab videos, everybody. Today's video is on lesson 9. It's all about sight. For this flipped classroom lesson, you're going to need your root card and materials to complete your choice of vocab strategy. Remember, you can do note cards, vocabulary connections, vocab visuals, or word pyramids. And you can follow along on page 57 of your Classical Roots workbook if you'd like. The first root that we're learning today is re. Re means back or again. Please add re to your roots card. There are a lot of words that use this root, and we are going to learn 6 words today that start with re. The first word that we're going to learn is refute. This is a very timely word for us to be learning since we're going to be debating soon, and we will need to refute one another's arguments on our debate topics. Refute is a verb, and it means to prove a statement or person to be incorrect or to disprove. For example, the International Cycling Union refuted Lance Armstrong's claim that he never used steroids. So they proved his claim to be untrue. We refute with people when we disagree with them. And the sentence in your book reads, the women's marathon in the Olympics has refuted former claims that women are physically incapable of running long distances. In other words, the marathon has proven that women can run long distances. Don't forget to add this word to your vocab strategy. And we'll be talking a lot more about refuting when we get to our debates and into argument writing. The second word that uses re as a root is reiterate. Reiterate is also a verb, and it means to say over again. If everyone listens the first time, there's no need for me to reiterate the instructions. The sentence in the book reads, our coach reiterated her familiar advice. Don't exhaust yourself in the first quarter. So again, reiterate means to say over again. Just a reminder, at any point during this video, feel free to pause so that you can complete the strategies for each of these words. Remember, you want to fill out the strategy completely. And great news, this lesson is a reset of our words, so you no longer have to remember any of the words from lessons 1 through 8 for your vocab quiz. You do, however, need to know all of the roots. Moving on to our third word, repartee is our next word, and it is a noun. It means a quick, witty reply, or a conversation characterized by such remarks. Witty means something that's kind of clever, sometimes funny. And the sentence that is seen here, the repartee between the two showed that they were close friends. Kind of talking about the conversation that they had and the tone in their conversation. Don't forget to add this word to your vocab strategy as well. The fourth word is a little bit hard to pronounce. It sounds like this, repertoire. Repertoire is a noun, and it has 2 definitions. The stock of plays, stories, songs, or other pieces that a player or company is prepared to perform, or the skills or accomplishments of a particular person or group. The first definition is kind of long and harder to understand. A stock is kind of like almost like a toolbox or a collection. So if someone knows a lot of plays, songs, stories, or other pieces, and they have like a collection of those that they can pull from, you may refer to that collection as their repertoire. Also, sometimes a particular person or a group of people will have a set of skills that they'll refer to as their repertoire. And the picture's kind of used to show various skills that this one person has, but they're all sort of a similar skill, which obviously has to do with construction or building. The sentence reads, dancing is not in my repertoire. Basically, what that is saying is that dancing is not one of my skills or accomplishments. In the book, the sentence refers to a song. It says a march by John Sousa is part of almost every school band's repertoire, meaning almost every school band has that song in the list of songs that they are prepared to perform. And then kind of focus more on that second definition. Most chefs have a recipe for chocolate mousse in their repertoires. So it's in their skill set to be able to make chocolate mousse. We actually have two more words that use this root. The next one is repose. Repose is either a noun or a verb. It can be used both ways. If it's used as a noun, the definition is a rest or a peaceful state. And if it's used as a verb, sometimes too, it can use the definition to place trust in or expectations in something. So you kind of have to look at how the word is used in the sentence to determine whether it's being used as a noun or a verb. And it also can mean to rest as well. So I know that's not on the slide, but that's another way that the word can be used. The sentence on the screen says, the puppy reposed that I would reward him with a treat. So the puppy expected that he would be rewarded with a treat. And that's kind of shown by that picture of the puppy in the lower right-hand corner. There are a lot of different sentences in your book. The first one reads, because a hummingbird's wings move so rapidly in flight, the markings on its wings can be observed only when the bird is in repose. So only when the bird is in a peaceful state or a resting state. And if you need more examples of this word being used, please feel free to refer to your workbook. There are a lot of examples there. And there are a lot of different ways that this word can be used. The final word that uses this root is reticent. Reticent is an adjective, so it's a describing word, and it means of a silent nature or reserved in manner. So I kind of have two pictures here. One is showing someone who maybe doesn't speak as much, is a little bit more silent. And then the other picture is of a mime, which if you don't know what a mime is, it's an actor that doesn't speak. So the sentence on the screen says, normally reticent, Carly couldn't help but shout out when it was discovered there was cheating going on. So even though Carly usually was kind of reserved or quiet, she spoke out when she found out about the cheating. Don't forget to add this word to your vocab strategy, and this might be a good place to pause because we're going to be moving on to the next root. So if you need a little more time on some of these words, feel free to take a little break. But we're actually going to move on to the next root, which is on the back now of your root card. So you can kind of check yourself. You should have all of the roots filled in on the front of your root card. This is the first one on the back. Ostendo means to exhibit. And I showed an art exhibit in that picture to help you remember this definition. To exhibit. The first word that we're going to learn that uses this root is ostensible. And it's an adjective meaning given as an excuse to conceal the real reason, or pretended. The ostensible reason for the dinner was to cover for the fact that it was a surprise party. And the sentence in your book reads, although her ostensible purpose at the courthouse was to meet a client, she really came to pick up information. So something that's given as an excuse as an attempt to conceal the real truth or the real reason could be described as ostensible. You should be on the 8th word at this point, and we have 3 more words to learn. This next word is pronounced ostentatious. Ostentatious is an adjective. It's another describing word, and it means showy or intended to impress people. So the car that's shown is made of gold, obviously intended to impress people, and also kind of showy or glitzy. The sentence reads, John's cars and home were very ostentatious. In the book, the sentence reads, they had an ostentatious wedding reception with 1,000 guests and a 10-foot high cake. Obviously, a 10-foot high cake would be very showy. There are 2 more words and 1 more root that we're going to learn for lesson 9. So go right back to your root card. Video is the next root, and it means to see. And obviously, it's spelled the same as video, and you watch or look at or see a video when you watch it on TV. So that can kind of help you to remember that definition. Once you have this added to your root card, we can move on to our 9th word. We have 2 words to go, both of which use this root. The first is improvise. Improvise is a verb. It has 2 definitions. The first is to make something without preparation. The second definition is to make or provide from materials on hand. So the picture on the far left kind of matches with that first definition. It shows people improvising, either doing some sort of skit or comedy routine. And then on the right, a necklace was made from a paper clip, which would have been just materials that were on hand. If you've ever heard of improv, improv is a type of acting where people basically are given a prompt on the spot and act out without really preparing anything ahead of time. So if you ever go to like an improv show, it's basically people just acting off the top of their head. And improv is an abbreviation of improvise. The sentence on the screen reads, MacGyver was a genius at improvising gadgets from everyday items. Another sentence, surprised by the nomination, she had to improvise her acceptance speech. Since it was a surprise, she didn't have time to prepare for it ahead of time, so she had to improvise it. And then another sentence from your book, the shipwrecked crew improvised a boat from barrel staves. So they had to create a boat using other materials that they had on hand. We have 1 more word that we're learning today, and the word is visionary. Visionary is an adjective, another describing word. Again, 2 definitions. For these words that have 2 definitions, usually the first one is the one that is more commonly used that you probably want to remember. But for the sake of your vocab strategies, if you want to write both down, that might be a good idea, just so you have a more comprehensive vocab strategy. The first definition for visionary is existing only in imagination, so something that's not practical. The second definition reads, characterized by vision or forethought. The number 1 person that came to my mind when I was thinking of this word visionary was Steve Jobs. He was considered one of this century's great visionaries. He was a person who had a lot of imagination and had a lot of vision. And the picture in the upper right-hand corner shows a kind of imaginative setting. It's not realistic. It's not a photograph. It's more fanciful. It's more dreamlike. In your book, there are 2 sentences that you can take a look at that also use this word in kind of using both definitions. And there are a few other sentences as well on some of the practice pages and some of the exercises. So if you need more examples, feel free to look at those. And I would recommend, if you need a little extra practice for vocabulary this week, taking a look at some of those exercises. They're on page 60, 61, and 62 of your workbook, and it gives you some practice plugging the words into sentences and trying to recognize the word being used in context, which is a really great skill and would help you a lot for your quiz. Again, just as a reminder, I know I already said this, but I want to make sure that you know that this week's quiz is only over the lesson 9 words. However, you do still need to remember all of those roots. Thanks so much for listening.